Joining us now in the studio, Representative Becky Currie. Morning, Representative. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you guys are getting all set. Gavelled in yesterday, had the speaker on the program talking about what he believes to be the legislative priorities. What do you think at this point? What's on your plate that you're focused on?
Well, I'm the chair of tourism, and we have a lot of federal money, whether you like it or not. It's here, and we're going to spend it, of course. And being the chair of tourism has been pretty interesting. It's one of the only agencies, Gerard, that brings in money. So for every dollar we spent before COVID, I will say we brought back 12, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And so our tourism folks have been hit hard. Believe it or not, our numbers of people coming into the state or, tourism around the state are great. It's not that people don't want to go somewhere, and for a little while there, we all wanted to get out of the house.
Sure.
But it was that I talked to the general manager of the IP during that, and he said, well, Becky, I've got to go. I've got to make some beds and clean some rooms. So, it's just how it's been for them. And so they've been hit hard, and, we're going to use there's some money allocated for tourism, and we're going to make sure that it gets used and gets used well, and that when hopefully, we've been saying this for 2.5 years, when things get back to normal, I'm not sure that they ever will, but we just need to make sure that we still have that $6 billion coming into the state every year, which is what they normally bring in.
It's big industry.
It's big industry. A lot of jobs, a lot of money coming in, the casinos, of course. And, we just need to make sure that we stay on top of that. And you've probably seen on TV other states with a lot of commercials. We're getting to, to start and begin to do those kind of things. So it's going to be an interesting year for us on the Tourism Committee.
Any particular measures that you got cooking up related to tourism? Well,
what we did with the first round of CARES Act money is we actually gave it to the county tourism associations.
Okay.
Because as well as I do, it's where the rubber meets the road. They know what's important in their district.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And so we did that. We have the numbers. It was very successful. It brought money in. Those are the kind of numbers I like to see, and I know you as a numbers guy, that's what you want to see as
Sure.
well. So I'm very proud to bring that back before the legislature and say, we were responsible. We did this, it worked well, and we're coming back for, a part of the new CARES money.
Okay, gotcha. Well, what are you hearing after a day of being in session that it seems to be taking shape as priorities? The speaker was on yesterday. He suggested that his top priority is the tax reform legislation that passed the House, of course, last year, and then really didn't get any traction in the Senate, but hearings were conducted and lots more work on that issue out of the session. He's made that a priority.
That's his number one priority.
It is, yeah.
And, of course, I have no problem not paying taxes when I can not have to.
Sure. Me either.
So,
I hear you.
It's one of those things. That's one of the things I've always run on and stood for, and I'm going to vote for it.
Yeah.
I know there's other people with some other questions, and we're doing well right now. I think that if we're going to do it, this is the year to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he indicated that was a high priority in his world. This medical marijuana thing is, golly, just consuming all the air in the room, it seems like. And I know Representative Lee Yancey's been running point. I think he chairs the drug committee, if I'm not mistaken,
That's right,
in the House, right? And
he's
working with Senator Blackwell. And he hasn't stopped working on this.
Let me tell you, he's done a yeoman's job, and it's not an easy thing. And guess what? You're not going to make everybody happy.
Sure. At
the end of the day, you're going to have a group that's unhappy. As a home health and hospice nurse, I can tell you that I'm for the medical marijuana.
Okay.
I want to remind everybody, this is something you have to have a prescription from a doctor. We just are acting like it's going to be on every street corner, which it already is on the black market. We're never going to get rid of the black market. We need to realize that. But this is a whole different type of program, and let's get it started. The great news for me on this, it's not in the Constitution, so we can tweak it every year.
Yeah.
And, so when we find there's an issue or a problem, guess what? We come in every year, we can change it.
And that was, of course, the concern with the Initiative 65, which would have been embedded in the Constitution and requires going to the ballot, referring something, an amendment, a measure to the ballot by the legislature for the people to vote on in order to amend the Constitution, which is an arduous and expensive process.
Oh, it's ridiculous, and we could not do the little tweaks that are going to be needed.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud that it's this way. Of course, we've got a fix-in ballot initiative.
Yeah.
I think it's an important thing to have. We don't make everybody happy, and if the people are truly want something and can't get it through, that's their only voice, and I don't want to take that away from anybody.
And the Speaker indicated that as a priority as well. Redistricting, other than that, he talked about, said that was time sensitive, so he had to get on that right away.
I have a meeting today on the congressional districting.
That's first, I believe,
it's
right?
First. Yeah. It's coming up first, and I've been through this before, so it's, a lot of people are worried about it. I'm not so worried about it. It just is what it is. If you do your job, people will want you back. If you don't, they may not.
I think that's right. Absolutely. So of course, Representative Currie, as the Speaker said yesterday when I asked him, well, gee, we have Republican majorities. Why don't we just draw the map so that we could gerrymander all Republican delegation in Washington, but you're bound by some federal law and regulations along those lines, and it likely would get not stand the test of the courts.
It would,
and it would
not
get
right
contested.
Now,
yeah, right now it definitely wouldn't. We don't have friendly courts to Republicans. So, but I asked him that question, wanted him to get that out. You get asked that a lot from the public. Why do we have one of our four that still is set up pretty much for a Democrat to win based on the voting age population breakdown and so forth? But he was good at articulating the reason for that.
And guess what? Congressman Thompson's not happy with what he had.
Of course.
But he lost so many people out of the Delta.
Yeah.
He had to gain other areas. There was just nothing else to do. And he's not happy with it.
Well, almost 10% of his constituency, which honestly should maybe set off a light bulb in his head that why am I losing people here? You know, what's the root cause of that? And maybe we need to do something better at the state and federal level, at whatever's possible, to stem that loss of population.
Well, he could have done the pumps. That would have been one good thing. Absolutely. But he took the political route rather than, I think, the practical and route of utility in that respect. Okay, so we got that coming up. The governor also has indicated that he is for banning critical race theory. He listed that as, I guess, if in an order, would rank that as his second priority. Lots of talk about that, and we've talked enormously about that on the show as well. Your thoughts on that, or are you involved in any legislation pertaining to that? I have written a bill, and I have talked to Chairman Bennett on the Education Committee, and we are doing a bill this year, and I hope to be involved in it. I've done a lot of studying about it. It's not anything new, actually. It's from 1960s. Came out of the Marxism era.
That's right.
And, so it's just not anything we need. We don't need any children. I was reading an article the other day where a 7-year-old little girl came home all upset because she was white, and that...
They're being taught that.
Yeah. And it's like, well, we don't need to go down that road.
I couldn't agree more. You got to go, you hang around for another second. All right, we want to talk a little bit more about that and some other stuff that might be happening at the Capitol. We've got Representative Becky Currie in the SuperTalk Studios. Middays, we'll be right back. So let me ask you this, with the Lieutenant Governor testing positive, has there been any communication from the Speaker on your side about what does this mean in terms of isolating, shutting down, reverting to virtual lawmaking?
Well, we are going back to virtual, and I'm not saying it's. You can go to the meetings if you so choose. You can watch them in your office, but we are going to step back just a little bit. I talk to the speaker. As the nurse, I always say,
sure,
you need to have a conversation with me. And, so, I'm fully vaccinated, and so was Delbert, by the way.
Boosted and had it.
And also had it. If you
kind of a rough case, I think, right, when he had it last year.
A rough case.
Yeah.
So, the deal is Omicron doesn't care whether you are or not. And it goes back to you have to protect yourself. And so I'm going to be everywhere I need to be. And if I can watch a hearing or something on a camera, I probably sit in my office and do that.
I got you.
But, nobody wants to be sick, and especially during session for us. It just kind of puts a halt on several things. We have a couple of chairmen out right now, so we're not having those committee meetings, So it's a little nerve-wracking, and it is a petri dish, I don't ever get sick. I don't catch a cold. I walk in that building, and we get all crowded in a room, and I will get one every time.
Yeah, you're right. It's close quarters. There are high ceilings, of course. I'm not sure how good the ventilation is.
It's
old, yeah. And because it was retrofitted, I assume.
That's right.
The building was built. There was no such thing. And it's pretty evident when you look at the vents and so forth that all was kind of crammed in there after the fact. But you're in there for a long time as well.
That's right.
Which I think increases the possibility.
And, if you get in a little argument, and you start talking a lot.
You guys don't argue.
No. But, sometimes people,
You're debating. I know. I understand.
And that's when all of your germs start coming out.
Yeah, that's right. Good point. Well, so is there any word on when you might return, or is it we're just playing about? Okay, so that's the rule right now.
Yeah,
okay,
we're headed in full stream ahead.
Okay.
So if it's just that if you are uncomfortable, you have a choice.
Okay,
that's right.
And that's probably
how we'll finish
the protocol that'll just stay in place for the session. Wow. Hard to believe 2 years later that's still going on, isn't it?
I remember when we first went home and in the middle of the session when it first came out. And, I thought, I knew the word pandemic as a nurse you don't use very much.
Yeah.
But I really, like everybody else, thought, well, we'll be back in a few minutes. No big deal.
Yeah.
And here we are, 2.5 years later, we're still talking about it.
It's hard to believe. And,
it is.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the president who addressed the nation yesterday. And I just don't know that there's a whole lot, honestly, that can be done. And I think it was improper on his part during the campaign to just harp on this idea that I'm going to shut down the virus. And we've played a montage here on the program of about 3 minutes of him making that exact statement. I think I just don't know, honestly, at this point, 2 years later. It seems like it's got to run its course. And,
it's a virus.
Yeah, that's what they do, right?
And that's what they do.
Yeah.
And, Omicron is the direction you want it to go in. Less symptoms. It's getting weaker. It's changing. So believe it or not, this is the direction, scientists want to see this virus going. But it's just hard to believe. But, and I realize that everybody's not medical, but for somebody to lose an election because they couldn't handle a virus, that was not smart to begin with. But, it worked. And, I saw him sitting at the window with the fake snow yesterday.
We were talking about that.
What was that?
That's his made-up set. We can't, Rhino and I were talking about it. We can't figure out why they're still doing that and why he has this set that's not in the White House, not using that setting to record these briefings. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
It seems kind of fakey. But anyhow, so, along those lines, from a lawmaking perspective, lots of Mississippians are very rigorously opposed to the Biden vaccine mandates. And I've had legislators tell me that that's like the number one issue they get contacted about.
It has been. I have had a lot of people lose their job or quit their job. They're not going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting here today that you can be fully vaccinated, have had COVID, and it doesn't matter. You're getting it again. So what do you say to the people that you fired because they didn't get the vaccine, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway?
Yeah, especially if the person doing the firing is vaccinated and got infected, which has been the case. I saw, Rhino, excuse me, not sure if you saw this, but Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, there's photos going around of him walking in front of the Marine Corps troops, and the Marine Corps is in their dress blues, and they got their masks on up to their deadgum eyeballs. But he's got double masks on and that shield that looks like he's ready for welding, and he's outside, and nobody's around him, and he's strutting, in front of the troops. And then just 2 days ago, he announces he's positive. So it makes, he's got the big plastic shield and, that down to the middle of his neck and all. And now it's being determined, I think, that the whole plexiglass thing was a farce. That really doesn't do anything. But all the retailers were putting that stuff up. And in the classrooms, in the pods of the students practicing band and their little cocoons, it was just crazy. So it seems like we've overreacted. But is there a need for us to pass laws, do you think, that I know the Attorney General sued the Biden administration over this, but is there a need to pass laws that sort of ban Biden's federal orders?
I would like to see us do it just as the state takes a stand.
Yeah.
I think this is a Supreme Court issue, and I think that's
on the 7th, I think, right? When they're going to be hearing it.
And so it's going to be they're going to be the decision maker. I always hate it when you rely on the Supreme Court, who can't make a law, to be the decision maker.
I agree. It's not supposed to work that way.
It's not.
But it seems like everything ends up there because there's so little intersection of agreement between the parties. And it seems like we, as a society, have gotten more hostile to each other in asserting our positions and either going on the offense or the defense on those. I would like to see there be less hostility and less vitriol. I don't think that's really effective.
I don't either. And some of my best friends in the House are Democrats,
Sure.
So, and we get along well. We discuss things with each other. And guess what? I'm going to need their vote on a bill, and they're going to need my vote on a bill. And if you don't get along, it's stalemate. So why put yourself through that?
Yeah, no substitute for building those relationships, especially when it comes to trying to get something done and getting people to maybe take a look and see things and be open to seeing things your way.
Well, the other thing is, I think you're too egotistical when you can't reach across the aisle. I'm not saying bend over backwards. Have your principles, but I'm saying, there's been good legislation made when everybody sat at the table.
Seems like it. But now we've got, unfortunately, in Washington, we've got Senator Schumer, who's pushing to really change the rules of the Senate to
That's
allow.
Scary.
I know. And we played a tape of him yesterday in 2005 where he says, excuse me, that would be the end of democracy, but yet that's exactly what he's pushing for.
Well, whatever you need at the moment.
But that aggravates people.
Yeah.
It aggravates me to no end. I probably get more jacked up and bent out of shape about it and incensed about it maybe than the average person. But when I see somebody say something like that, and then 10 or 12 years later just completely flip as if they never said that before. And that happens on both parties. I'm not giving
it does.
I'm not giving all the credit for that infraction to the Democrats. It happens on both sides, but we've got to hold those people accountable.
That's
I think
right.
as people, and it's the state level too. It's not unique to Washington.
I'm probably on the local as well. But what would we do without Joe Manchin? The weight on that man's shoulders. I pray for him.
I totally agree. And so far he's held steadfast to his views, and he said that he opposes ending the Senate rules too. So that puts a I guess, kind of a wrench in those works. So, Representative Currie, really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and Happy New Year to you, and we'll probably see you down there at the Capitol sometime.
Sounds good.
All right. We'll be right back on Midday. Stay with us.